everyone, so this is going to be my first YouTube video. My name is Forceful. I'm a head coach in the North American League of Rainbow Six, and today I will be talking about the 5 most common mistakes that I see new players make when they try and get into esports. Let's go. Okay, so the first big mistake I see most new players make, and it's so fundamental, and it drives me nuts because it'll keep you there forever, is not being honest with yourself. So if you want to set yourself up for success, what do I mean when I say you need to be honest with yourself? And the real big thing that you need to understand when I say be honest with yourself is you need to be looking at things like your work ethic. Okay, you need to be looking at your expectations and your expectation management, and you need to have an honest conversation about where is your skill set currently. Are you going to be able to reach those heights, and are you going to be able to put back in the work to get to those heights? What do I mean when I say work ethic? Well, it's pretty simple, really. It's exactly what the word says. Are you going to put the work in that you need to put in order to succeed at the highest level? Remember, you're playing catch up to the T1 and T2 teams that are out there. Are you going to be able to catch up them, outwork them, and get yourself better in the process? All right, so the second part about being honest with yourself is looking at your skill ceiling and looking at where you are currently at as a player. Are you going to be able to compete against those T1 players? Are you currently holding your own? Okay, so I see the same T3 players still stuck in T3 from when I joined the league, which means there's something fundamentally going wrong there. Maybe they're not asking themselves the right question. When you go into a ranked game, are you able to place in the top of the leaderboard consistently in the diamond or champion elo? Because let's be honest, I know ranked isn't exactly the best measurement for individual skill, but it is the only real measurement you have. And if you can't even make it out of the plat elo mines, then how are you expected to compete at a T1, T2 level? Oh, but Force, what about the other pro league players that aren't diamond? You think for a second any of those pro league players couldn't get diamond or champion if they wanted to? If they wanted to commit to ranked and the ranked grind, they 100% could get those ranks. So start looking at yourself if you're trying to start out and see how high you can get in the ranking ladder. The next thing I want to talk about is expectation management. Now, I feel like this is one of the most common mistakes I see new players make when they're starting off, is they think they're going to be the next Bolo or Shaiko. Now keep in mind though, Bolo and Shaiko, they came into this game with a very, very good skill set and a very good work ethic, right? And they just immediately skyrocket. Most players don't have both of those when they're starting off at a young age. Most people have to work on their skill set or work on their work ethic and their drive and their determination in order to get there. It's really important to remember this is a process. You're not going to be an invite in February. You know, you're going to have to grind to get to these points. Most of these players that are already in T1, T2 have been grinding their respective game for multiple years at this point. And remember, the second mistake that I see most players make, including veterans still, is not bringing a notebook to practice. So I want you to ask yourself, has this ever happened to you, where you're 20 seconds into the action phase and you have no idea where site is or how your team is going to push that site? Right? You guys spent so much time in the previous round talking about your mistakes and getting on each other's asses that you guys don't know what you're doing going forward. This is why you need a notebook, because a notebook allows you to write points down. All right, if you write these points down or any mistakes that were made, you guys don't necessarily have to discuss them in between rounds. During the operator selection, these notes down, you can come back to these notes later. You can assess how important each individual point is, you can prioritize, and you can present only the most valuable notes to your team. All right, so there's a second aspect to taking great notes. All right, so everyone, how they take the notes is individual to them, but your notes are kind of useless if you never talk about them, especially if you don't talk about them as a team. So it's really important that your team set aside sometime within your practice schedule, whether that be right after your scrims or the start of your scrims next time, to talk about the lessons that you guys had learned. Bring a notebook, people. This little tool here, if you guys write down your points, you prioritize what you guys need, and you guys have a time as a team to talk about these points, what you're going to see is a ton of less infighting within your team in the game and outside of the game. All right, so the third common mistake that I see new players make is they're not building their resume. And what do I mean by when I say a resume? You know, I'm talking about your competitive history, your competitive achievements, and who you are as a person to present to whatever team you want to join next. Esports is a profession. That means it's a job, right? If you apply to a job, you need to apply with a resume. They need to know what they're getting into. If a team gets 20 applicants for a specific position or 20 tryouts, they only have time to try out maybe 5 or 6 of them. How do they narrow it down? If you want to stand out from your competition, build that good competitive resume, and coaches or players who are trying out or looking for new players will be able to understand what they're getting into before they ever even offer you a tryout. So just some hints or some things that can help you out when it comes to a resume. What you're looking for is a background of who you are, your background within your respective game. All right, what skill sets do you provide? Examples of those skill sets, whether that be video clips or trophies that you guys have won. What achievements have you guys made? Whether that's at a T3, T2 level, those can all be considered achievements. And one of the most important things that you can have in a resume is references. Now, when I'm talking about references, what I'm talking about are people that will vouch for you. And that can be anything. That could be something as simple as, someone made a nice post on Twitter about me, or someone on their Twitch stream said, you know what, this guy is awesome. Or, it could be a simple, hey, ask your buddy, who has a good standing within the community. Most important part of that, have a good standing within the community. Say something nice about you. Just have them write a blurb. Remember, you're trying to sell yourself. Keep in mind, esports is a business, and you are applying for a job. So treat it that way. Come prepared and bring a resume. All right, so my fourth point that I see new players make when they start off in esports is not working towards developing a champion mindset. Now, starting out, no one's expecting you to have a champion mindset, but it's something you need to work towards every single day. And what is a champion mindset? A champion's mindset is strong, resilient, and adaptable. It's able to react to the situations that are changing in front of it. Champion needs to be able to constantly learn and grow from every source of opportunity, whether that being knowledge passed down by a peer or someone who's been in the game a little bit longer than you, or from learning from defeat. A champion's mindset requires you to never stop learning. Always strive for perfection. Understanding you will never reach perfection, but you need to strive for perfection nonetheless. It's about adopting that next round mentality, Understand that there are some things that are outside of your control. You can't change the past. You can only learn from it. You can only affect what is happening right now in front of you. If you're down 5 rounds, next round. Okay, so my 5th most common mistake I see new players make is not knowing or not being able to identify when it is time for a change. So as a competitive player, there's only really 2 aspects that you can look at for change, right? And that is changing your team and changing yourself and your attitude. So let's focus on ourselves here first. All right, before you ever look at changing your team, you need to be looking within and seeing what can you do to help implement better change and better growth for yourself. Kind of tying back to that champion mentality, you need to be always in a position where you are learning. You always need to be in a position in which you are trying to improve every single day. And you need to humble yourself to understand that you can learn from anywhere. You can learn from players that are weaker than you, from players that are stronger from you, players that are your peers. You need to be a sponge absorbing information at all times. You also need to make sure that you're not making your real life situations affect how you're playing in your game. If you're going to be a competitive esports player, you need to have your IRL sorted out as much as possible. You can't let, things that happened at work come to practice and affect your teammates every single day. On occasion, it's okay. People slip up, people make mistakes, people can be empathetic towards it. But every day coming to practice tired or not having the drive to work hard or angry, that can really start to grind down a team. So as an individual, your job and your responsibility is to try and make sure that your real life and your ability to grow as an individual is at its maximum potential. So that way, when you guys get in game, you're just a sponge soaking up information and you're going to be able to apply it going forward. The second aspect of change is changing your team. Everyone knows that a team that stays together and plays together will grow together. But at a certain point, especially in T3 and T2, teams just don't work out. As such, you need to be able to identify your players on your team are your competition, and you need to be growing constantly. Everyone's got their own journey, everyone's got their own path that they have to go through, but you want to make sure that you're in a position in which you can soak up that information as quickly and as efficiently as possible. When I'm looking at recruiting a new player for any team that I've been a part of, I'm never looking at the best player on the 5th place or the 6th place team. I'm looking to take the best player out of that entire league given the situations of that league. If your teammates are consistently lagging behind or dragging your skill cap down, then it is time for change. Be looking at this point for a team that will help foster your growth as a player and challenge you to be better than what you currently are. Remember, change will always be uncomfortable, and that's the point, right? Getting away from your comfort teaches you to grow as an individual, and you need to make sure that you're providing yourselves as many opportunities to grow as possible. If you need to take one step back to get 2 steps forward, then that's the path you need to take, because it helps you grow and challenge yourself as an individual. So thank you all for watching. Those are my 5 points. You know, there's really like 10 sub points within them, but those are my 5 most common mistakes that I see new players make. Remember, if you liked what you saw, do the YouTube thing, hit the sub button, hit the like button. It really helps out the channel. And if there's something you guys would like to see me do in the future, some sort of content, or if there's some editing technique that I'm not aware of, please feel free to let me know down in the comments below. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.